Coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by TagMeADate. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Oh, God! Athena spiked with that! That will definitely screw up your face and head area. I'll tell you, I think Britt Baker's nose is broken or something here.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Oh, but wait, Britt now with the glove. And Toni Storm flat in the center of the ring. She's going to send a message to the champion here.
It was a hell of a pop, wasn't it?
Yeah. Unexpected, to say the least. A welcome surprise. We'll get into that in just a second. Welcome to the War Report, everybody. Hello to already getting some comments here. Not sure if that's Tara or not, but hello. And then Kevin says hello. Hello, Kevin. We are live on a Tuesday night talking all things pro wrestling. And yeah, Wednesday night, we have a lot to talk about, but Wednesday night was the AEW Grand Slam. It's a Dynamite show, but it's live. You know, it's got like a big pay-per-view feel. I mean, Dynamite's always live most of the time, but like, you know what I mean? It was like a big, they try to make it like a pay-per-view at our Thrash Stadium. It is, Tara. All right, cool. Excellent. So weird. Some weeks it says your name, some weeks it doesn't say your name. I don't know why. But we had Grand Slam. Lots of stuff happened there, but the clip we just played, the debut of formerly Paige, Saraya, and some people knew because apparently that song is by, who is it, Falling in Reverse or somebody? One of the
Whoever,
band.
it's her boyfriend.
It's her boyfriend, Ronnie Radke, and he's in Falling in Reverse, and that's one of their songs. So some people knew it right away. I kind of figured based on the type of music it was that it was going to be her, but I don't know, until like one guy ruined it on Twitter. Sean Ross Sapp was like spoiling that she was going to come out earlier in the day, but it's a welcome surprise because who knew she was ready to roll? Everybody's, the rumor is she was dunzo.
Well, and then the rumor was that she hasn't been medically cleared, and she's not necessarily confirming that. So
yeah, but she also said, don't believe everything you read. Tune in on Wednesday. So I guess we're gonna have to see tomorrow. Like, that's the interesting thing is the last reports that the dirt sheets had was that she was not cleared. But that doesn't mean that. Oh, listen, the thing with Paige and Sarai, everybody's going to do it. Listen, JR still calls him Daniel Bryan. You know what I mean? So that's going to happen a lot, Saraya, Paige.
Kevin, you don't see the hoopla about Paige or Saraya in AEW. I mean,
I'll give him this. As long as she can wrestle, it's a big deal.
Well, right. If she can wrestle, it's a huge deal because it's kind of one of those edge type of situations where you didn't think it was ever a possibility, or Daniel Bryan Danielson, whatever we're calling him. It was one of those things you didn't think you were going to see again.
Edge. Yeah.
Right. So from that perspective, she's a home run selection, and apparently Triple H tried to get her to come back, but she had already made the deal.
Yeah, they were trying to get some other people too. The rumor was they were going after the House of Black guys, but all of them confirmed independently on social media today that despite being written off TV temporarily, they are coming back to AEW. They're not requesting their releases. They're not leaving the company, which is nice to hear. There was a couple rumors about that, people being reached out to, like former WWE guys like Malachi, like Andrade, people who have ties to the company or a fiance there, trying to reach back out to those kinds of people, see if they can get their release from Tony and then come back to WWE. There was a rumor that Bobby Fish tried to get Cole and O'Reilly to request their releases from AEW and try and go back as a package deal to WWE, but apparently there was no interest from WWE in Bobby Fish or the Undisputed Era coming back. So,
which I got to be honest with you, the fact that Triple H is now the guy running the ship, I'm surprised by that, because those are also born and bred Triple H guys. So that kind of surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, but you know what? If they signed longer deals, or if they, Bobby Fish signed like a year, right? And then now he's when he did his year and he was no longer contractually obligated. O'Reilly and Cole might have had some injuries that extended their contracts. So even if they only signed a year or two deals, they could be up relatively soon. That might be what they're thinking. They're like, hey, we're not going to rock the boat. We'll just, if we want to leave, we'll go when our contract is up. Then, you don't want to burn a bridge before knowing you've got the other job.
Well, that's fair too, but I don't know. I mean, listen, either way, the fans win because they're great no matter where they are. So,
Yeah, I just, I think the House of Black, I love the House of Black as a concept. And I was just reading Kevin's comment there. He hated to see Fish. I hated to see it too, because I like Bobby.
They didn't do much with him though,
No,
unfortunately.
they didn't do much. Yeah, I think he might have. That's kind of been the unfortunate thing with a lot of these guys that got signed up in the last year or two. So Fish is a great talent. I knew Bobby Fish before Bobby Fish was even on TV. Nice guy. So I was, I would hope to see them use more. But so comment here from Tara. That makes me think she, being Saraya, is medically cleared. I don't think Triple H would want the hassle of bringing back someone who wasn't.
Yeah, you know what? I don't agree with that. Only because I think that Triple H would go through the hassle even to bring her back as some sort of mouthpiece manager, or maybe an NXT in the Performance Center.
But she is worth more as a wrestler.
Well, of course she is,
else.
But we also want to make sure that she's healthy and that she's not going to kill herself.
That's true. Yeah,
or end up in a wheelchair.
Right. And, speaking of injuries, that was kind of the thing with the House of Black. Malachi Black's been going through some kind of back injury that he finally, it seems like through some sort of acupuncture, acupressure, chiropractic, whatever, rehab stuff that he's doing, he's finally, like, his back is feeling better. And he said it's been like a 2 or 3 year problem. So that's right in the middle of your AEW run. I can understand, people are like, oh, why isn't Malachi challenging for the TNT title? Why isn't he challenging for the world title? Why isn't the House of Black, why aren't they winning the tag team titles? And it was like, well, when your leader is in so much pain from his back that he can't walk and move and he can't wrestle as much, and they're limiting his appearances, and like he had to be on the shelf for a little while, like that kind of, now that we know all that, it explains why the stop-start, the House of Black thing and the Lucha Brothers thing took forever to resolve. Like the Julia Hart thing took forever to resolve. It was because I guess there were some, lingering injuries there. And the same thing with the Undisputed guys. I know O'Reilly had an injury, or might still have one. Fish had an injury for a while, and Cole is just coming back from one. So those guys, as much as you want to say, why aren't they pushing certain guys? It's like, well, sometimes you got to take it easy. People were saying the same thing on Wednesday. Like, well, why isn't Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson winning the championship for AEW? And it's like, well, maybe the guy's 40-something years old and he doesn't want to do it. You know what I mean?
Listen,
like he wants to go out there.
You know what, though? I got to be honest with you. I'm not so sure that I'm thrilled about Mox winning the title again.
I think it should have been. Listen, I agree.
He's becoming a placeholder now, and that's not okay.
He's become the guy. He's become the Mr. Reliable kind of guy. Like, oh, we can play.
Well,
we
listen,
can
and
plug
God
him into
bless
the
him.
situation.
Listen, the guy was supposed to be on a fucking 6-week vacation, and he canceled it to come back and bail them out because of all the bullshit that Punk put them through. So
yeah, and it seems like basically what they're doing is they're doing the Punk feud, but with Mox instead. So it's Mox MJF. MJF has this poker chip that's acting like the Money in the Bank briefcase,
which is
and
fine with me.
yeah, and that's fine. All through the match, though, I talked about it for weeks. I'm like, there's no way MJF doesn't just cash in right at the end of the show, which they kept going to the camera. They had a thing on him the whole time. He's sitting on the skybox. I'm like, okay, they're showing him the skybox. There's going to be a point where they cut up to the skybox and it's empty. And MJF's going to come down and attack Mox, going to attack Danielson and either enter himself into the match or beat up the winner and cash in right there. And he didn't do it. So I don't want to say dragging it out. We're letting this one breathe. We're not doing the instant cash in kind of thing like has been known to happen throughout the years. So I don't know. I don't know where I need to see another week or two of where this is going. Because honestly, the MJF, great talent, whatever, young guy, good talker, blah, blah, blah. If it's just going to be another 3, 4, 6 weeks building up to a pay-per-view of, well, my friend is Nick Khan, not Tony Khan. I love Bruce Pritchard. Maybe I'll just leave.
It's fucking hilarious, though.
It doesn't do anything for, like, I'm just, go. I don't care. Go to them. Like,
no,
but
that's shock.
Like, that's
no,
just,
Vince, dude, come on, man.
like,
You know better than anybody that is pure shock value. The fact that he's dropping those names and he's saying those things is for sure shock value. The problem that they're going to run into with MJF, which is really not a problem, it's more so a problem for MJF, is that he's turning face and he doesn't want to be face, but the crowd is fucking love it. He is so fucking over.
And that's why the Punk thing would have worked, because Punk would have just been the bad guy and MJF would have been the AEW original fighting for the AEW
right, but
originals,
the problem is that everything that I'm hearing from MJF is that he doesn't want to be face. He wants to continue to be heel. But by saying and doing the shit that he's doing, no matter who he says it to, it could be the most over face in the company, he's still getting cheered because he's fucking gold. So at this point, you just let him go. I think that's who should have the title. I think if you were having Ambrose go over, then I think it should have been an instant cash in.
Well, that was
of the poker chip.
I even thought, because I know Danielson, the way he's talking, he's like, listen, this is my last wrestling contract. I'm not signing an extension. I'm retiring after this. I'm not going back to WWE. I'm literally done. I want to go.
I've heard all that before.
He said all that, but if in my mind, I'm like, okay, so the best way to do this, the shock and awe would be Bryan Danielson winning the championship and then getting cashed in on immediately and be like, oh my God, this is, reminiscent of when Sheamus.
I was gonna say it that just would make him totally feel like he's back in WWE because that was a Vince McMahon move. I mean, that's what.
Yeah, and I think that's why they didn't do an instant cash in that night, because I think they felt like it was too much.
Kevin says MJF is buying his time. He's going to cash in, and the guys watching his back are going to help him win. Well, yeah, I agree, and it's going to be fantastic when it happens. Because I not only see a great run from him, but a long run. I mean, I'm not talking Roman run, but he's going to have a run.
No, he's got to have it for a long time, especially now. I think they understand now, not that they didn't beforehand, because there was a good long period where Jericho had a long reign, Moxley had a long reign, Omega had a long reign, and even Hangman had a pretty long reign. But then we started playing hot potato with the title due to injuries and lawsuits and whatever else.
I mean, listen, the truth of the matter is, if you go back to the first CM Punk injury, that's where it all went downhill.
It was really the first injury.
This was never the plan.
None of this was the plan. Yeah. No, they've been flying by the seat of their pants for the last couple months now, trying to course correct. And I appreciate that he was really trying to course correct back to Punk. And the ironic thing is, regardless of what Punk said in the post show, regardless if there was a fight or not, they could have all gone home and, just said, hey, good show, and shook hands and left, and not had that press conference. And Punk still would have had a torn bicep and still would have needed to relinquish the title on Wednesday. You know what I mean? So it was two of his injuries that really fucked him. Aside
Kevin.
from the outside of the ring shenanigans.
Kevin and I seem to agree a lot. I like Kevin. He's got to hang around more.
And I think the cool thing about this MJF cash-in is if Stokely's guys do it. Stokely doesn't do anything for free, and neither do those guys. You know what I mean? That new group, the Syndicate or whatever they call them or whatever, I forget what the name is. But the Firm, that's what it is. It's the Firm. So all these guys, you got W. Morrissey, the former Big Cass. You think he's just going to go out there and help MJF and not expect?
Who looks phenomenal, by the way.
He looks amazing.
Absolutely phenomenal.
And I think what they're doing is they're setting up this group here, and some of them are kind of lower level guys, but then you've got a big guy like W. Morrissey. The Firm is going to be like, all right, we helped you get the title. Now we want title shots. So he's got to and eventually it's going to be I think they're going to build to a pay-per-view match of W. Morrissey versus MJF. And really sell MJF being like the chicken shit heel. Oh, he's finally going to get his comeuppance. This guy's 7 feet tall. He's just going to ragdoll him and throw him around the ring. And then you figure out a way that MJF wriggles his way out of it and keeps the title. Because that's how he's going to win. You know what I mean? That's how he's going to that's how he's going to have a long title reign. Is he's going to figure out ways to wriggle himself out. So I'm going to be very interested to see how kind of a big man, man match would go between those two guys.
I am forecasting it now. You heard it here. It'll be archived. Vince is going to start to hate MJF because MJF is going to be the champion that always has to cheat to win. And it's going to drive you fucking crazy.
It's going to get old because that whole thing where there was 2 years straight of MJF punching people with the diamond ring got old after week 3 for me. So yeah, if he just uses the ring the whole time, at least he doesn't have Wardlow anymore as an excuse.
Tara agrees, Vince.
I think, with the way that things are going with the challenge, I think Morrissey's a challenger for sure.
100%. They're grooming him big time.
And honestly, you've got a lot of guys on the back burner who Miro was filming a TV series or something, and he's going to be coming back. You can put him in the TNT title situation. You can put him in the world title situation. You can have him against MJF. MJF calls himself the devil now, and Miro's the redeemer, and God versus the devil kind of thing. There's all kinds of shit.
Here's an off-topic question. And just because we're talking about Big Cass Morrissey.
Yeah.
How was the relationship with Enzo and Triple H at the end? I know that Enzo had a lot of beef with Vince, which is ultimately why he was gone. But how was his relationship? Because now that Vince is gone, that's another team you could potentially bring back that would get over if you brought them back together and as faces, because they were horrible apart, but together they were great.
Absolutely, yeah. The thing from what I understand, and this may be the only issue that Enzo has with Triple H and Stephanie, is that for people that don't know, Enzo left WWE or was released from WWE around the time that there was an accusation made about him in terms of
oh shit, I forgot about that.
Inappropriate message. But here's the thing.
Came out to be bullshit.
Came out that it was all bullshit. WWE internally investigated it and found that he didn't do anything. It was forwarded to the police in Arizona or somewhere in the Midwest where it was alleged to have happened. There was no findings, so they didn't charge him with anything. What I believe the issue was, he knew that the girl was doing this stuff on social media, and he knew that she was planning on filing a police report or whatever, or going public to a reporter or something, and he didn't tell WWE to help get ahead of it. And that's why he ended up getting released or leaving the company or whatever, mutually. I don't know if he was released or if they mutually agreed to part. Basically, it boiled down to, hey, if you just gave us a heads up on this, we would have gotten ahead of the story. Now it looks like we're employing a potential sexual predator. We just got to let you go. And
from Enzo's point of view, WWE was treating him as guilty before proven innocent, which
right. And I can understand him not, feeling some type of way about it as well. I think
so.
Point here.
As much as I would love it, I don't think Enzo and Cass would come back to WWE. Why is that?
I think Cass would. I don't know about Enzo. Cass definitely would.
I
'Cause
think now that Vince is not in the picture, I think you got a shot. Unless he burned a bridge with Triple H, but I don't think it ever came down to that.
yeah, that's the only thing I can think is if he had problems with the office. If Stephanie and Triple H still feel some kind of way about him not giving them the heads
I
up
just
about
feel
the whole
like
situation.
Triple H has done a very good job and seems to be showing a lot of focus in rebuilding the tag team division. It's a
Oh,
tag
yeah.
team that's already very over that nobody would expect to come back. Not to mention
That's true.
Enzo. You talk about Cass. Enzo is also in phenomenal shape.
Oh yeah, he ended up getting himself in pretty good shape right after he left.
You know what, Tara? I get it because of the bullshit. I get you on that, but I will say this, and it will always hold true to the standard to the end of time with wrestling, and that is you never say never. I
Especially
never
now.
thought I would see Bret Hart back in the WWE, and I never thought I would get to see San Martino back in WWE. Not to mention get inducted. I mean, I could go on and on. So, as much bullshit as there was, you know,
And most of the
forgive and
problems
forget.
most of the problems came down to people having issue with Vince or Vince having issue with them.
Right.
The field is wide open right now.
And I'm not saying you have to agree with me, Tara. I'm just saying I always appreciate your input, but I just think in this case,
I do feel like there's some people were very willing to quickly sign back up with WWE. I feel like some people are still going to be a little gun shy about it. And like, yeah, I know
there's people that are still ready to sign back up that unfortunately can't because they're under contract. I mean, I'm hearing that there's quite a few people over in the other side, which I got to tell you, man, listen, and we've said it before. If your goal was not to hit the indies, make a name for yourself and perfect your craft, and your ultimate goal was not to end up in the WWE, you're doing something wrong and you'll never make it, because that should be the end goal. Now, AEW has become a player, and I think AEW is just such a young company that's doing a lot of great things, a lot of things that need to be worked on, and they'll get there.
Right.
But I think ultimately, they're becoming, it's like it's like you can get to AEW, you get to WWE, you're a big deal. So I feel like, I feel like, yes, the end goal should still be you want to end up in WWE, but if you have a shot to be in AEW right now, I feel like you got to take the ball and run with it, because you have so much more freedom. And I feel like if you're as good as you are, that WWE even wants to have you, that opportunity is not going to go away in a year from now.
No,
you know what I mean?
in fact, if you go to AEW, and let's say you're somebody like Anthony Bowens is a good example. Anthony Bowens had a tryout with WWE in 2015, and he did an interview maybe a week or two ago leading up to Grand Slam, where Bowens said, "Hey, I didn't have the character work. I wasn't ready. I was just, I was too new. I appreciate them giving me the tryout, but I understand why they passed on me." And then it took him years until like 2019, 2020 to get picked up by AEW, who just happened, like Tony Khan just happened to see these two guys and put them together. They weren't a tag team before AEW. They got paired up by Tony Khan, just kind of not randomly, but he looked at these two guys and went, I think they would mesh well as a team. And it turned out he was right. And now you look at a Max Caster, you look at an Anthony Bowens, or you look at a guy like Wardlow, who might not have been on their radar. You don't think Wardlow's on their radar now? You don't think the Acclaimed is on everybody's radar now? It's going to AEW is the equivalent of when you used to go have a guy go to WCW and you'd see like Mr. JL wrestling in WCW. And the next thing you know, he'd be working as Jerry Lynn in ECW or WWF because they saw him do, something somewhere and they hired, you know what I mean? It's just like having this other big company around is only going to help these guys stay relevant and even, get noticed by WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, MJF was never on the radar, and he is definitely on their radar. You know, I think
Do you
there's
think
still.
Cody Rhodes would have come back if the last 5 years all he was doing was indie shows?
Listen, I got to tell you, that was still mind blowing to me that he came back, especially being one of the quote unquote founding fathers of,
Have,
and
have
he's
you
done
ever
an
known
outstanding job. So,
you ever known a Rhodes to turn down a paycheck?
well, listen, and
How
listen,
many times have those
hey,
guys come back?
you know what? Listen, it's so true. But listen, he just had a baby. You know, he's got to think about
Yeah.
his future, and I get
No,
it.
no,
He has a
I
lifestyle. I mean, go fuck yeah, go for the
yeah,
money.
but I just think it's funny that like Dusty would go from WCW to WWF based on who wanted to pay him more. And
Oh
like,
yeah,
Vince would make him wear polka dots. He's like, fuck it, I'll wear the polka dots, just pay me. And
yep.
then his brother was like, okay, fine, I'll wear the gold suit, just pay me. I don't give a shit. I'll be Gold Dust. Pay me my money. And then Cody went from, nah, that's not me. I'm gonna break the throne
Vince,
to, hey
it
man,
will
let's just do it. Like,
always be about the money.
oh yeah.
Always,
But it's just like
always.
I recognize the pattern of the Rhodes family. Like
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing. It's just merely an
No, you
observation.
know what? It's straight up a smart thing because money is money, and
Well,
you
because
have
they're
to think about
leveraging,
securing your future. So
and they
you
always
do what you got
were
to
able to
do.
do that. They leveraged even when like Dustin left WWF maybe in the late '90s, early 2000s. Then you see him show up as just Dustin Rhodes with Dusty towards like the end of WCW, and they're having tag team matches together and shit. And then when WCW goes out of business, pops back up in WWF. I appreciate that the Rhodes, especially Dustin, are very rarely unemployed.
Right.
They're always finding work, whether it's TNA, because even Cody went to TNA for a little while.
He
Like
did.
it's just, but Dustin had the great ability to go from company to company and maintain, because he was a name. He established himself as a good worker and was just able to kind of capitalize that and then say, hey, you need a good hand. You need a guy in the mid card. You need a guy to put somebody over. I'm your guy, regardless of where it was.
So Kevin Trips is doing a good job so far. Yeah, man. You and I agree. He's doing a great job. It's going to take time. There's still things that he's going to do that we're not going to like. It is what it is. But Triple H has a vision. Triple H. I mean, listen, just from a marketing standpoint and booking standpoint and what he's doing with these QR codes and the White Rabbit deal and the whole thing, which we'll get into, it's just all things that Vince wasn't doing. He's really utilizing social media now and doing these where's Waldo? Where's going to be the next QR code? There was a small QR code on the announce table towards the main event of the show that people may have missed. I actually missed it. I found out because I saw a tweet from Justin LaBar, and then I paid attention to it. I was a few minutes behind anyway. So, it's just brilliant booking and it's just fun. It's different, and it's making everybody really question: is it Bray? Is it, I've heard people say maybe it's Edge. I've heard people say that maybe it's one of the people that were with what's the guy who the party guy, not oh fuck it, Adam Rose. One of the Rosebuds was a white bunny. I've heard things like people are like coming up with everything,
or that it was something to do with Judgment Day.
Right. Well, that too. So there's so many different, people are really thinking outside the box and but it makes it fun, and so I appreciate it and I love what they're doing with it, but I don't want to get off course. I really, if I had to vote who took the cake this week between Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW, AEW stuck to its name and it was a true grand slam. There was nothing that could hold the candle. There was nothing Raw or SmackDown. Not to say that they were bad shows.
It's a special, it is
a pay-per-view style free show.
Exactly.
All right.
And
listen, there were good things on Raw. There were good things on SmackDown, and we will touch on some of them. But I have to start with Grand Slam, and we already did talking with about Saraya Saraya, excuse me. I believe it's Saraya is actually how you pronounce her name.
She put it on Twitter,
Yeah,
so I think there's like a pronunciation thing. Yeah,
I think she's getting a little annoyed that people aren't saying it right, so I apologize. But listen, the show fucking started with Claudio Castanoli versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor for the opportunity for Chris Jericho to get numero ocho and become, which is now a T-shirt.
Yes, I love that.
And what a great way, listen, as you know, being around the business, Vince, to book a great show, you have to have a really strong open to get the people up and ready and wild, and you have to have a great close to send people home, whether they're happy or pissed off, as long as it was amazing. Your two big ones. And then you got to have something really good in the middle to get the crowd back into the show, because sometimes these shows are long and you could fall out of it. I can tell you, based on Raw, 3 hours, by the third hour, you heard a significant difference in the level of the crowd, including in the end. So that goes back to what we've always been saying, and we'll get to that. But I will tell you, man, what a way to start the show. What an outstanding match. And Chris Jericho is now your new Ring of Honor World Champion. How are we feeling about that? My only negative feeling to it is that I would have liked to see Claudio get more than a month reign. And I may be off. It may be a little longer, but I feel like it was very short either way.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. And I've seen a lot of comments online that people are like, I get this Ring of Honor stuff off of AEW. There are too many titles. Who cares about Ring of Honor when it's, they don't even have their own TV? And it's like, well, obviously they're setting something up. They don't put the title on Chris Jericho if that Ring of Honor streaming deal or TV show isn't coming on. That's just happening now. Now we know that for certain that that's happening because they put the title on Chris. I agree with you. It should have been a longer reign for Claudio, but this furthers the Jericho Appreciation Society versus the Blackpool Combat Club feud. It continues the Daniel Garcia trying to decide if he's a sports entertainer or a wrestler thing. Chris Jericho thinking that because he won the Ring of Honor championship that he's now a wrestler, and he's now, kind of taken Bryan Danielson's place as Daniel Garcia's favorite wrestler. But now Daniel Garcia is saying he has to say something on Wednesday. And of course, they're going to have like some celebration thing, but Daniel Garcia is going to come out and try and explain that, whatever his side of things are, potentially leaving and joining the Blackpool Combat Club. Who knows? But I like it. I think it sets up a lot of threads for the Jericho Appreciation Society versus Blackpool Combat Club thing. And I think, 100% Tara. Claudio.
There we go. Tara agrees. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's true. He deserved a longer reign.
Absolutely. But I think what's going to happen is, doesn't this have to end with Daniel Garcia beating Jericho for that Ring of Honor championship to like cement the new kid?
It's very possible.
Or does Bryan Danielson win the Ring of Honor championship from Chris Jericho with the help of Daniel Garcia?
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to see how they play it. Yeah. One thing is with AEW, it's not all that predictable because we see title changes more frequently. Of course, again, sometimes it's because of injury, but nonetheless, it's not as predictable as some of the other shows on TV. So, which is not a knock. That's a good thing. Because listen, who says it more than me? The element of surprise is fucking gone. So when you do get it, one of the greatest things about being a wrestling fan is having those goosebump moments, where you look at your arm and you really do have goosebumps. And we used to get them a lot. And then the internet kind of fucking took that away. Or because they want to make sure that they get more eyes on the product, they tell you and they shoot their load before we get to the show. And, that kind of sucks too. So, it is what it is. And we have to change with the times. We are still old school, and sometimes change is good. Sometimes we don't like it, but it is what it is. Moving on to the next match, we had, so Swerve, in our glory, Keith Lee and Isaiah Scott versus the Acclaimed with the newest member of the Acclaimed, Papa Daddy Ass. first of all, amazing to me how much Swerve was booed,
Yeah.
how much Lee was cheered, and how fucking over the acclaimed outside of
Yeah.
Saraya had the largest pop of the
Oh,
entire
for
night.
sure.
I mean, everything they're doing, the Scissor Me Daddy, the with Daddy Ass in the mix now, the freestyle when they come in, which is always a home run. When you get somebody like John Cena who made that a true life gimmick work, give up, give head, props to the acclaimed and say that they do it better than he ever huge, and he's not wrong. They are great. They're edgy. They work well as a team. They're great on the mic. They play for the other team, so you get that that fan base involved, right? And
Yeah.
maybe people that are in that community that were not wrestling fans will become wrestling fans because of them. Everything about it works. The finish to that match was sensational and it was spot on. I just loved everything about it. It was another great match after a great match, and it just really kept the crowd and the momentum going.
Oh yeah, and that was, and I know people were saying, "Oh well, if they were going to do the title change, they should have done it at the pay per view." Well, guess what? They did it in New York. It was their hometown. Whatever. Um, you and Eric, I think, right? Eric doesn't like. Well, Eric doesn't like most of the AEW guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Eric is not a fan either. I mean, listen, Tyra, I get it. They're not everybody's cup of tea, but if you take away the talking, if you take away the gimmicks, and you just watch the tag team wrestling that they have, that chemistry, it's undeniable, and they're a great wrestling team. You know,
And then they
but
have to have the character to,
of
to
course,
be the rest. That's so. But I understand. Like you said, it's really. I can see how that would not be everybody's cup of tea for sure.
listen, John Cena, when he first started doing it and he was a heel and he was doing a lot of edgy things and stuff like that, he was also not everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
But it's also what got him over and made him one of the greatest of all time.
True.
So, you have to, and not to steer the ship in the wrong direction, but since the name came up, congratulations and fucking amazing. I will say, whether you like John Cena or you do not like John Cena, whether you think he's an asshole or you think he's great, whether you think he sucked in the ring, whatever the fuck you think about him, you can't deny the fact that he is a great, great person. And what he's done for this business and what he's done for the WWE, but most importantly, what he has done for Make a Wish. And now he's now in the Guinness Book of World Records for granting the most wishes ever. Over 650, I believe, wishes.
Yeah.
A lot of which he has done since his run in WWE. He still does them. The amount of lives he's touched, these kids that their one wish in life before they potentially die is to meet John Cena, and he does it on his own free time, and the guy's a saint. You can't say anything negative about him, and if you do, fuck you. You know what I mean? You got to respect the guy. It's unbelievable, and congratulations, man, because that's awesome. It really is.
And to do that many, and like you said, in his free time, then you said such a funny thing. You're like, oh, in John Cena's free time. What fucking free time does John Cena have?
And yet he makes the
time.
time.
It's amazing that he makes the time for these kids, man. Yeah, absolutely. There's no, I always thought the booking was a little silly around Cena and the Super Cena thing, and he always seemed to get hit by a fucking truck and they drop a bomb on him and he'd still kick out at 2 or whatever. But regardless of that, there's a difference between the way John Cena was on camera, the way that they wrote him, and the way that John Cena, the actual, dude, is. And that's a good guy. And
He's a great human being.
Yeah, he's done a lot for Make a Wish and other charitable things, and made people aware of other organizations and stuff. And I don't really do Twitter anymore, but from what I see, Cena posts a lot of inspirational stuff on Twitter, motivational stuff. So it seems like he's one of those guys that just wants to spread positivity.
He really is a good dude, man. So, but anyway, going back to Grand Salami results. We had Pac versus Cassidy, and that was for the All Atlantic World title. Trios.
No,
It was just a match, right? The title wasn't on the line.
It was for the All Atlantic title, but Pac is also a trios champion.
Oh,
but
right, that's right.
Yeah, he's one of the first double champion with AEW titles. They've had guys win an AEW title and then like a tag.
And he's another one, outside. Cassidy. He's another one that Eric I don't think likes, right?
Eric hates him, and he hates Danhausen. All the fun ones.
I love Danhausen.
Yeah, Danhausen's fun.
He's so fucking funny.
Orange Cassidy and Pac had a great match in 2019. I don't know if it was All Out or Full Gear. It was one of the early AEW pay-per-views, and it was for weeks. JR would do commentary on Orange Cassidy matches, and he would just not get it, and he'd like kind of talk shit about him in the matches. And then the first Pac versus Orange Cassidy match happened, and that's when JR got it. And ever since then, he's been like a huge Orange Cassidy supporter. This match was no different. Those two guys, I like it because there's the lazy guy trying to play mind games, and then you got the strong, the big strong guy, the little strong guy. He looks like Gollum. Grand Salami is
I appreciate you, Kevin.
Yeah, here we go. That's a weird one. Loves Danhausen, can't stand Orange Cassidy. So you're not quite all the way with Eric because I think Tara likes Pat McAfee, and of course Eric cannot stand Pat McAfee.
It bothers me that he doesn't like McAfee.
I just don't get it. Like it kind of bugs me too because I'm like, how he does like he is.
I feel like he's just being picky.
I feel right. I feel like he's also being like, oh man, like, well, if a fan could do commentary, why isn't it Eric instead of Pat McAfee? And it's like because we weren't in the NFL. Like if any of us were in the NFL, we'd be doing SmackDown instead of a podcast.
It's so true. All right, so next we had Storm, Deeb, Athena, Dr. Britt Baker, which is the match that led to the return or the debut of Saraya. And
I like
the match itself was very great.
And
I'm with you, Kev. I like them both.
Britt Baker unfortunately broke her nose again. But
that's her thing, huh?
I guess so. She must
every
have
big match she's just gonna break her nose.
But it's like the fucked up thing is it's a real broken nose. It's not like you can fake that.
And you know what? And look how she handles herself and carries herself in that ring, even with a broken nose.
Here's the problem. Every time she gets busted open or broken nose or bleeds, she turns it up to this other level, and it's like so cool. But then when she's not bleeding, she's not
rubs the blood on herself, and
if she can figure out how to get that Britt Baker that's bleeding without having to bleed all the time, and legitimately break her own nose. Like I really feel like she could taking it up another notch.
I mean, listen, it's a great way to get some blood in there, and
a new T-shirt or something.
Yeah. I mean, she's beautiful either way. So I don't know, but she's great. Yeah, Britt's a fighter. Kevin loves her. I'm with you, man. She's definitely she is the Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, like upper echelon WWE women's wrestlers. She's that of AEW, the founding woman I mean, one of the originals, who was not really a big deal, and made herself a big deal and
improved,
beyond improved. And the icing on the cake for Britt was turning heel.
Yeah, absolutely.
That took her to a new level, and she's killing it. I just encourage her to stay heel as long as possible because she is so very good at being a heel. So it was a good match. It's one nice thing I have to say. There's nothing on the card that I could be like it wasn't a great match. I mean, they were all solid matches.
Yeah, it was a fun 2 hours. I can't even think, okay, maybe, you'd say, oh, if there was a time when the crowd was like down, it was probably after the Acclaimed wore everybody out, but like nothing got a bad reaction. Like it was a fun show, man. I have no knocks on that show.
I
No,
mean,
no.
listen, you're also dealing with a New York crowd. I
Oh,
mean,
for
you
sure.
know, you're gonna have a great
Yeah.
crowd all the way through.
Oh, and Rampage was fun too. Action Bronson wrestled with Hook against 2.0, and that was
Yeah, I heard he looked pretty good actually.
he looked good. I hope he comes back.
So I think hold on, we got a Woody Kevin right here. Can you guys imagine if Britt and Tessa ever tagged with each other or versus each other? What's
That
your
had to be the
thoughts?
plan.
I mean, listen,
It
I
was the
would
plan up until Tessa became what she is now, with
yeah,
all these
which
problems.
right, and I'm hoping they can mend. I mean, listen, as far as I know, she's still free agent, Tessa, because nobody's really wanted to deal with her.
They had her signed for that Women's of Rest, the WoW
Right.
revival,
And
then they
she's
got
already
rid of
gone
her.
from there.
Yeah, and now that WoW revival, if you have, I think it's CWs, like those CW affiliate kind of networks, I think you could get Women of Wrestling, whatever it's called, relaunched or whatever.
But Kevin, I will say this to you. If Tessa can shut her mouth, I'm being serious. If she can cut the shit and just be Tessa Blanchard, any company that picks her up is lucky because she is that good. She is phenomenal on the mic. She's phenomenal in that ring. She can go long. I mean, I think of matches all day long with her, whether it's Tessa versus Britt or Tessa versus Charlotte or Tessa versus Sasha, Becky, Bailey. The list goes on and on. So
Right.
I hope one day she's young enough where that still could happen. I don't know. I mean, I think that it's okay to know that you're that good, but it's another to carry yourself like your shit doesn't stink. And when you start to have that kind of attitude, you're going to alienate yourself from any promoter wanting to deal with your bullshit.
Yeah.
So hopefully, hopefully we'll get there. But right, Steve, Tessa's mouth gets her in trouble. I mean, unfortunately, that's really what it comes down to because from a wrestling standpoint, she is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem was one of the things that she did was like saying something racial about a black wrestler. So I feel like there was
listen, there's nothing that you can ever say or do to make that okay.
you erase it, but
I don't know if it was.
You can apologize and try and move forward and do things. You could donate to a charity or spend your time at a an organization and donate your time to help a community. You know what I mean? You could do things to try and
right. No, you're
kind
right.
of make up for it, but I just feel like that hasn't been.
Was it ever proven that what people claim she said that was like a proven
apparently
thing?
She kind of threw from what I remember, she kind of threw around the N-word about a black wrestler in a locker room, and everybody heard it.
Well, listen, that's never okay.
It's not. It's really not. You can't.
But to your credit, if you stand there and say, "Listen, I fucked up. I should have never said that. I'm so sorry. I'm not a racist."
Right.
Eventually, time will heal a wound, and you can move on.
Yeah, but
if you're not going to say anything and you're going to just walk around like I don't give a shit, then you're going to stay unemployed.
That's why I think. Tully isn't around Ring of Honor or AEW anymore. I think he went there thinking that if he did a good enough job, maybe he rubbed a couple elbows, was able to talk to people privately, he could convince them to hire his daughter. And I feel like the response was, well, she hasn't really done enough to prove that she's not that person anymore or has made strides to improve herself or, make any attempt to reach out and squash the situation. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the response was either not right now or a flat out no from AEW. And that's why Tully split. In funnier news, is it me? It says Tara. Is it me or does Matt Menard always look high? And Kevin co-signs it. Yeah, he's playing the 80s coked out like Road Warrior guy. You know what I mean? That he's like an exaggeratedly '80s pro wrestler. Like, there's nobody better to be in the sports entertainers than Matt Menard.
Tessa definitely shot herself in the foot with her own gun. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. But the nice thing is that in the world of pro wrestling, it's very forgiving. And you can move on and you can get past it and you can have a solid career. But she has to put the ego aside. And that's not easy to do. So
And that's the weird thing about it, dude, is like you would think, because this situation happened. I mean, this happened around TNA started, or not TNA, AEW debuted in like 2019, and there were rumblings that Tessa might go there. And it was like 2019, 2020 when all these accusations started coming out. Not all these, but you know what I mean? Like a story came out and a few people corroborated it about her being kind of, loose with the N word. And all that talk about her going, to AEW kind of fizzled after that. So you'd think it being 2 or 3 years later, if she had done enough to separate herself from the situation and show that she was trying to improve, I think she would have been signed. So I think it could just be she is not doing, because you can't. I mean, how can you can't be canceled forever, right? Is that like can she never get another wrestling job ever in her life because of this? Like, I don't
No.
know. I don't know what the rules are. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like,
it depends on how she carries herself going forward. And listen,
Yeah.
we're also assuming she wants to go somewhere. Maybe this is her way of saying, she doesn't need to do it and doesn't want to do it. I can't see that being the case, because when you're that good, like, how do you not go through? You know what I mean? Like, she is that good. I mean, she really, is a powerhouse of a woman in that ring, and it's a shame. So hopefully, we do see her and we see some incredible matches. But the main event, as we mentioned, was Mox and Bryan Danielson, which of course was what you would expect. It was a great match. I just, again, in the end, I thought that they would give the rub over to Bryan Danielson, and not because I don't think Mox deserves it, but I think Mox getting it again after just having it and losing it and having it and losing it is he's just becoming a placeholder. And Mox is the type of guy that should have it and have it for a nice long run. So it's not a knock against. And not only that, if you gave the rub to Danielson, Mox could have then taken his vacation.
Yeah. Or if they just did the title change, even if Moxley wins, MJF runs out with the poker chip, hits him with a DDT and beats him.
Right. Well, there's a reason why they didn't pull the trigger on it that quickly. They obviously have some long-term plan in place.
That's
what that is, we'll find out. But
yeah. But no complaints about that. And then, like I said, Rampage was a nice little appetizer afterward. You're home on Friday night, it's late, you turn on Rampage, you can watch a little wrestling there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to talk us through Rampage, because I did not see it.
So I'll just do it quickly because we only got a couple minutes here. Basically, Sting and Darby Allin beat the House of Black. Julia Hart took a table bump where her ass hit the table, the far side of the table, as she was coming off the ring apron. She got knocked off, and the table's set up on the floor. She goes past the table, her ass hits the edge and takes an ass-sized bite out of the table, but the table doesn't collapse and the table doesn't break her fall, and she just fucking splats on the concrete.
Jesus.
She took a hell of a fall, and then of course Brody King and Darby Allin took the fall off the stage. Like you're up, you go up the ramp, you fight on the stage, you knock each other off onto the table full of like extension cords. They did that one. That was a fun one. And then Muda, the great Muda, came out and misted Buddy.
Imagine, and that I did see on social media. Is it not incredible that not only did he show up, but to help Sting, which was one of his biggest rivalries forever. I just found that kind of crazy. Kevin, Mox versus Danielson was epic. Both deserved it. And I think Danielson, if he can stay healthy, they should have gave the belt to him. Either way, it was a good match. Yeah, Kev, I agree with you, but and we agree. I think they should have given it to Danielson. But either way, you're right. It was a great match. It really was.
For sure. Yeah. So the Rampage opener, everybody's hot for that one, especially when Muta comes out. So Muta's retiring this year. Sting is going to go over to Japan and wrestle with him. Have a tag team match with him. It'll be pretty cool. Action Bronson and Hook. Action Bronson rapped the Hook's song on the way to the ring. They beat 2.0. 2.0 is a great tag team. They're perfect in what they're doing. They're that perfect mid card. They can win or they can put somebody over, and either is realistic. And they did a great job working with Action Bronson. The new team of Ward Joe. I love seeing him. Yeah. Muta. Yeah, fucking the great Muta was great to see him come out. He looked good for being an older guy now. But the new team of Ward Joe, Wardlow and Samoa Joe beat Tony Nese and Josh Woods.
What a fucking sick team is that?
Yeah, I know. It seems like a cheat code, right? Like, who's going to beat those guys? So that'll be fun. If they stick together, that'll be a fun little team. Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, that's his full name now. Jungle Boy Jack Perry had a banger of a match with Ray Phoenix, and Jungle Boy won.
That kid is so fucking great.
Yep. And
his father would be so proud.
He would be. And then Christian came out like an asshole. And of course, Luchasaurus, who's still a bad guy, came out and slammed Jungle Boy. So that they have to have the Jungle Boy Luchasaurus match before they have the Christian match again, for sure. Eddie Kingston. So Sammy Guevara versus Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston beat the shit out of Sammy Guevara and put him in submission. Sammy taps. They ring the bell. Eddie holds the submission and keeps cranking it. Another referee comes out and reverses the decision. Sammy Guevara wins by DQ.
Wow.
Right? Jade Cargill beats Diamante. This one was funny because Diamante comes out with Trina, the rapper Trina. Like New York people pop for Trina. But Trina's the baddest bitch, and she's out there with Diamante. Diamante loses. And then Trina turns on Diamante because now she wants to be a baddie with Jade. And Excalibur's like, these are the baddest bitches. Trina is the baddest bitch. I'm like, oh my God, this is wild.
Muta was great. Action Bronson did well. Warjo equal destruction. I hope Jungle Boy beats Luchasaurus. Yeah, I can say I think we both agree with you there as well.
For sure. Really quick, last two. There was a 25-man battle royal to get your golden ticket for the AEW title. Hangman won. He beat Roosh as the last two competitors. That was actually a good battle royal. Sometimes battle royal is very hit or miss, but that was a good one. And then Ricky Starks defeated Powerhouse Hobbs in a lights out match. Hard hitting. Ricky Starks is a star. Powerhouse Hobbs is a star. These two fucking guys are stars. They're not pillars anymore. They are new main eventers, for lack of a better term. They're
Amen.
There.
I agree. So listen, I can't let us take this home yet.
All right.
Because we got to talk about the greatest part, I believe, of SmackDown.
Uh-huh.
And that was the very beginning, where there was a moment that I thought our tribal chief was going to officially kick Sami Zayn out of the family. And as far as Jay ripping the shirt off and saying he will never wear a Bloodline shirt again, but then announcing that he has a new shirt and he is now officially an honorary Uce. And I want to also point out that his Wikipedia page has been updated to say from that he is is he Iranian or is he
Yeah, he's somewhere in that.
Let's say he's Iranian. It's like he's Iranian, Canadian, Samoan.
Yeah.
Like they added Samoan in there, and now even Rikishi's acknowledging him as a part of the family. It's just Sami Zayn has just been a fucking home run, and even his match was great. So yeah, I wanted to.
We talked about this last week. We've talked about it every week. We mentioned
His match
Sami Zayn.
with I mean anybody that fights AJ is going to have a great match, but this match was, yeah, Kevin, I agree. Sammy has most certainly earned his spot for sure.
But it's going to be, we're going to see where Sami Zayn's loyalties truly lie.
Well, I think in the end he's going to be with Kevin Owens, and they're going to take down the Usos and win the titles.
Oh, wow.
That's how I think this ends. Now, the question will be, are we getting Sami Zayn or are we going to get El Generico?
Do you know, I've been hoping for years, my thought was Sami Zayn needs to lose a loser leaves town match and come back as El Generico. And everybody knows it's Sami Zayn, but just plays El Generico. Like,
it would be amazing.
Rikishi tweet was hilarious. It's good because initially Rikishi tweeted an image of Roman and then the Solo and the Usos.
Right.
Just the four of them. And Sammy goes, "Damn, Pops," or "Damn, Dad," or something like that. And then he reposts the one with, and he has like Sammy's just like awkwardly photoshopped up in the corner. It's like,
well, and that's the thing. Like all the pictures now coming out, he's photoshopped in them, and he's like, and it's the pastiest picture they can find of Sammy. It's just so fucking funny. The one where they're all
kids, because there was a picture of Roman and the Usos together as kids, and then they just find this awkward school photo of Sami Zayn. Like 12-year-old pasty Sami Zayn.
It's so fucking funny, man. It's just, he's doing such a great job. Even his walk to the ring and just how like out there he is, and he's just so good on the mic. He is so good on the mic. Yeah, man. He's just gold. So I wanted to finish on that note. He's just fucking great. There's nothing he can do wrong right now, yeah. So this was pretty much an overall AEW show this week, and it should have been, because Grand Slam was by far a Grand Slam.
Yeah, it ended up dominating, and not like, listen, we're not saying Raw, SmackDown, NXT, etc. We're
good shows,
yeah,
good shows, and we're consistently saying that, which is also a good thing, because there was a time where we couldn't say that
every week it was
Dynamite. It was just a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, Raw was so bad this week. Like now, at least you can say Raw was okay. Like most of the time, you're at least saying it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay to good.
It could still be shorter. Okay. That won't change.
Oh,
it could still be shorter.
Yeah, I know.
But it is what it is.
They should just make 1 hour all women's programming so that we don't have to watch it. No, I'm kidding. David Ross, you didn't watch Raw last night. Well, you should get a DVR. Actually, it's probably up on the internet for free somewhere. Go pirate it. You're fine.
Or if you have the fucking network, if you have Peacock. You can probably get it on there. I mean, listen, Raw was good, but if you had to miss one, this would be one to miss. Like, it wasn't like unbelievable. Although we should also point out
the one big thing that
happened. The one big thing to happen was that Candace LeRae did make her return, and it also looks like Nikki Cross is going to be ending this superhero bullshit.
Fake.
But Candace LeRae, let me tell you something. This woman just had a child. She looks absolutely fantastic. She looked great in the ring. It was a solid match. And it's great to see her now on the main roster. It's just funny. She has that segment later on backstage where they run into Bayley and her crew. And Bayley acts like, I know you're new here kind of thing. And it's like, all right, come on. Like, let's, Candace LeRae's been around for quite some time. But at the end of the day, that's a wrap. It's the top of the hour.
Yeah, it is, man. Well, we appreciate you guys sticking around with us this week. For those of you who are primarily WWE fans, don't worry, we'll be mixing in more WWE commentary next week. It's just that AEW had a very big, basically 2 pay-per-views in a row this week, so we want to talk about it. And yeah, we'll be back to the WWE chat. Later. What was awful? What was Tara saying is awful, Steve?
I don't know. What was awful, Tara?
But we'll be back to the WWE talk. We'll mix it all in. If there's anything happening in Impact or New Japan or the NWA, we'll bring it up as well. But we'll be back next week, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time for another edition of the War Report. We do this every single Tuesday. We're live streaming all over the internet. We live stream on Facebook. We're live streaming on LinkedIn right now if you're friends with Steve. Oh, the Nikki Almost a Superhero thing.
Yes. We will always agree on that, Tara. It was probably one of the worst things she ever did.
And it went on way too long. But anyway, yeah.
Way too long.
We're streaming on Facebook. If you're connected to Steve on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube as the War as TagMeADate. We're on twitch.tv/War Report. So yeah, most social media is at TagMeADate, no spaces. And that's for our YouTube, for our Twitter, for Facebook, for Instagram, for TikTok. You're going to look for that. Twitch is different. It's twitch.tv/War Report, WARREPORT. Twitter is also connected to Periscope. It's the same thing at TagMeADate. And yeah, we stream every Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time. We have a whole archive on the YouTube channel. If you want to go to the YouTube, you go to YouTube, type in TagMeADate, you hit subscribe, you hit the bell to get notifications. You can check out our archive. You can also go to Twitch and do the same thing. You can favorite us or whatever it is on Twitch and go through our archive. Or if you prefer a audio version only instead of the video version, you can go to your favorite podcast app, such as Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play Podcasts. I'm just being told that Aaron Judge is batting right now, so we probably got to go to see if he hits number 61. But go ahead and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Search for The War Report or TagMeADate. If you're searching for The War Report, there are 2 War Report podcasts talking about pro wrestling. But when you read the description or see the graphic, it's going to say TagMeADate. It's also going to say Steve and or Vince in there. You'll know it's us when you read the description. But we appreciate that. Spread the word. Share the show with your friends who are fans of wrestling, and hop in the comments when we go live. We'll be live again next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, for another edition of the War Report. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.